Snow was falling softly outside the diner that Christmas night, the kind of quiet snow that makes the world feel calm and magical. Inside, warm lights glowed, and the smell of fresh coffee filled the air. Most people were home with their families, opening gifts and laughing together. But not everyone had that kind of Christmas. I noticed her the moment she walked over to our table. She was a young waitress with tired eyes but a gentle smile. She looked like someone who had been holding the world together all day, even though it might have been falling apart around her. And before that night ended, I would watch her lose her job. But what happened after that changed both of our lives forever. Before we continue, take a moment to support stories that remind us kindness still exists in this world. Subscribe to your channel name, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps spread more stories that bring hope and humanity back into everyday life. Now let me tell you what happened that Christmas night. It was around 9 p.m. when I walked into the small roadside diner just outside town. My car had broken down earlier that evening, and after getting it towed, I needed somewhere warm to sit while I waited for a ride. The diner was decorated for Christmas. Red ribbons hung from the windows. A plastic Santa stood near the register. Soft holiday music played in the background. But the place was nearly empty. Just one older couple near the window, a truck driver at the counter, and me. That's when she walked over. "Hi there," she said with a soft smile. "Merry Christmas. What can I get started for you?" Her name tag read Emily. I ordered a cup of coffee and a burger. She nodded politely and walked away quickly, balancing 3 plates on one arm as she passed another table. I noticed something about her. She moved fast, but carefully. She checked on every table. She refilled drinks before anyone asked. She apologized if the kitchen took too long. She was doing everything right. But something about her expression told me she was exhausted. When she came back with my coffee, I asked casually, "Busy night?" She let out a small breath and smiled. "Not really busy, just long." There was something in her voice, like she had been carrying more than just trays of food all day. A few minutes later, I overheard something from the kitchen. A man's voice. Angry. "You're too slow tonight, Emily. Tables are waiting." She froze for a second, then quickly nodded and rushed back toward the kitchen. The thing was, no tables were waiting. The diner was almost empty. I tried to ignore it, but the tension in the room grew heavier. 10 minutes later, my food arrived. Emily placed the plate down carefully. "Here you go. Let me know if you need anything." Her smile looked a little weaker now. While I ate, I noticed the manager again. He was pacing behind the counter, watching her like a hawk. Every time she passed, he had something negative to say. "Wipe that table again. Don't forget the coffee pot. Move faster." It felt unfair. Especially on Christmas night. About half an hour later, something happened that made the whole diner go quiet. Emily accidentally dropped a glass near the counter. It shattered across the floor. The sound echoed through the room. She immediately bent down to clean it up. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly. But the manager stormed out from behind the counter like the glass had shattered his patience too. "That's it," he snapped loudly. "I've had enough tonight." The entire diner turned to look. Emily froze. I'll clean it right now," she said nervously. But he wasn't listening. "You've been messing up all night. Too slow. Dropping things. Customers waiting." No customers were waiting. "You're done," he said coldly. "Give me your apron." The room went silent. Emily stood there, holding the broom. Her eyes filled with shock. "Please, it's Christmas," she said quietly. "I really need this job." But the manager crossed his arms. Should have thought about that before you started messing up. She slowly untied her apron. I could see her hands shaking. The older couple looked uncomfortable. The truck driver shook his head quietly. But no one said anything. Until I stood up. I walked over to the counter. The manager looked at me impatiently. Something wrong with your meal? I looked at him and said calmly. No. But something's wrong with how you're treating her. The diner went silent again. Emily looked stunned. The manager frowned. Sir, this isn't your business. It became my business the moment you fired someone on Christmas over a dropped glass. His face tightened. She's been messing up all night. I looked around the diner. Has anyone here had a problem with her service? The truck driver spoke first. Nope. She's been great. The older woman by the window nodded. Very kind young lady. The manager looked irritated. Look, sir. That's when I turned to Emily. You deserve to be treated better than this. Her eyes filled with tears. The manager scoffed. If you care so much, you can hire her yourself. There was a long pause. Then I did something I hadn't planned to do when I walked into that diner. All right, I said. I will. He laughed like it was a joke. But I pulled out my phone. Actually, I own the coffee shop down the street. Technically it wasn't exactly down the street, it was about 15 minutes away, but still. I've been looking for someone hardworking, I said. I turned back to Emily. You start tomorrow if you want. She looked completely stunned. Are you serious? I nodded. You showed kindness to every table tonight. That's the only qualification I care about. The truck driver smiled. The older couple started clapping softly. The manager just stood there, speechless. Emily wiped her eyes. Yes, she said quietly. Yes, I would love that. That wasn't the end of the story though. Not even close. The next morning, Emily showed up at the coffee shop early. Very early. 30 minutes before opening. She helped clean tables, set up pastries, and greet the first customers with that same gentle smile. Within a few weeks, something amazing happened. Customers started noticing her. They left bigger tips. They wrote positive reviews online. Some even said they came back just because of the warm service. 6 months later, business had grown so much we had to hire 2 more employees. And Emily? She became the heart of the place. One evening while closing up, she told me something that stuck with me forever. That night at the diner. I thought everything was over, she said. I had rent due. My mom was sick. Losing that job felt like the last straw. She paused. But you stood up for me when nobody else did. I smiled. Well, you earned it. She shook her head. No. You chose kindness. And that's when I realized something important. Kindness isn't just about being nice when it's easy. It's about speaking up when someone is being treated unfairly. It's about seeing someone's worth when others don't. And sometimes, a small moment of kindness can change the entire direction of someone's life. A year later, we decorated the coffee shop for Christmas. Lights in the windows. A tree in the corner. Customers laughing and sipping hot chocolate. Emily stood behind the counter, greeting everyone who walked in. Just like she had done at the diner. Only this time, she wasn't afraid of losing her job. She was valued, respected, and treated the way every person deserves to be treated. Before closing that night, she handed me a small gift. Inside was a mug that said, "Kindness changes everything." And honestly, she was right. Because sometimes the smallest act of standing up for someone can become the biggest gift they ever receive. So if this story reminds you of the power of kindness, remember this. You never know what someone is going through. You never know how close they might be to giving up. And you never know how one simple moment, one sentence, one act of compassion, might completely change their life. So wherever you are, whoever you meet, choose kindness. Because the world always needs more of it. And sometimes, it starts with you.